Hello everyone, I'm Muskan. I'm part of the growth team here at Vymo. To get started, I will just tell all of you folks a little bit about Vymo. Vymo operates in the sales enablement and acceleration space. We especially help financial enterprises across the globe improve sales processes, partner relations, and engagements. We've worked closely with over 60 plus leading enterprises such as AIA, AXA, FE Credit in Vietnam, and even Berkshire Hathaway in the US. Today, for this webinar, we've partnered with NEC. NEC is a leading global company in the IT sector, established more than 120 years ago and started their business in Thailand in the 1960s. They have been providing solutions and technology to Thailand, mainly for telecommunication networks and broadcast infrastructure. Moving along to give you a little bit of context of the event today, the topic of our webinar today is leveraging digital tools and data analytics to ensure insurance sales success, right? So, in today's fast paced and technology driven world, the insurance industry is undergoing a significant transformation, as we have all seen. And to thrive in this evolving landscape, insurance professionals have to take up the power of data analytics and digital tools to drive their sales strategies because it is so interconnected today. To cover all of this, today we have Suresh Neelakantan sir from NEC. Suresh is an accomplished digital transformation veteran with over 22 years of experience in the banking industry. He leads transformational thinking with proven results across the digital product management spectrum. Being one of the leaders in the NEC Asia Pacific Value Chain Innovation Lab, he drives digital evolution and manages co creation partnerships and financial institution and fintech to provide innovative solutions that have resulted in increased revenue and market share for clients. Similarly, from Vymo, we have Varun Ravichandran. Varun is the Vice President of Product Marketing and Go to Market at Vymo, where he focuses on creating tailored sales productivity solutions for key industries and geographies across the globe. He also leads Vymo's industry councils, which bring together leaders and innovators across the BFSI sector to share insights and best practices in the sales transformation space. Gordon, who is our inside sales specialist, will be moderating today's discussion. And just before we start, I just want to let everybody know that you can post your questions in the Q&A section and the answers will be given live. Just in case you cannot hear or see any of us clearly, if you face any technological difficulties, then you can just raise your hand and I'll try to clear them. Okay, I would like to give the mic to Suresh, sir.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Muskan. And good afternoon to everyone. Hope everybody is keeping good health, guys. When we go back to the times when we were growing up, right? Most of us, even when you're talking with your parents, you would realize that they were not aware about insurance. Okay. I mean, does it mean that they were willing to take high risk? Not really. Not really. In the context of the risk-taking appetite is very less with our parents. So in that context, they were not covering their risk much. With the change that's happening, there is a huge shift that has happened. Demographically, there is a huge shift that has happened. The digital adoption in the world has changed the way things evolve in the market, either in terms of services, either in terms of product evolution across all consumers' suites. Either if you walk into a retail space or into a banking phase, same applies for insurance as well. Okay. As we speak, there are few things that is coming in the context. What is changing with the increased use of a digital solution is primarily your engagement. The conversation or the engagement with the customers has changed predominantly. And this is driving the way the products are evolving in an insurance world. Since the conversations are becoming very, very electronic and digital platform, There is too much of data footprint which is made available in based on these conversations and these engagements with the customer. Data becomes very critical. Data becomes very critical from few aspects. Customer service aspects, that's the primary. Customer acquisition aspect, okay. Managing fraud, okay. Managing fraud, once it's I want to digitize the end-to-end process, I want to digitize the end-to-end flow. In that context, what is happening is I'm going to acquire a customer online, so that's again becoming a risk that I need to manage. So I need to manage fraud in that context. So data, AI kind of a capability becomes very, very prominent, and it is what is changing the way the market is evolving. I would touch a few of these topics. Feel free to pose any questions that you have in this. Again, once again, thanks to the team. Thanks for the opportunity and allowing me to introduce a few topics that NEC is very passionate about. This is a very interesting data that we are looking at. What we see here is this is Thailand's insurance industry, which is expected to grow at an CAGR of 4.7% between 2021 to 2026. This is staggering 1,119 Thai billion in terms of the written premiums by 2026. This is a huge number. While that is true, what you would also observe here is the digital adoption in Thailand is very high, very high. When you look at the population, if you look at the total population and compare with that, the mobile subscription is 133 percentage. What does that mean is for one head count, there is 1.3 mobile subscription. Same goes for internet usage. Internet usage is 82% of internet penetration is there. Active social media usage, 74%. And mobile and social media use cases. This again is a staggering 71%. In comparison, when we look at what is the insurance penetration in Thailand is only 5%. This is a very this is a we are talking about 133 percentage of mobile subscription, and we are talking in comparison to 5 percentage of their insurance subscription. This opens up a great opportunity from a perspective of growth in the insurance sector. This clearly gives us a direction, right? The future sales process or sales engagement will move away from a person to person sales. In the past, if you're talking with your older generation parents, where do they buy insurance? They buy insurance from a sales agent. Now, in today's context, I wouldn't want to go and meet a sales agent. I would want to go online, compare the product, and go online and buy the products online. So in that context, what do I expect is my expectation is the product offering is relevant to me. It is relevant to me. So in that context, data becomes very, very important. Data becomes very important for me to offer something which is very personalized solution. I'm going to touch upon a few use cases which are very relevant in this context. One is a smartphone-based, usage-based insurance. If you look at today, that I'm buying a smartphone and this comes with an insurance product as well, covering all the damages, covering any breakage, failure, etc., etc. Do I need to pay a straight, simple one-time flat premium, or rather, can I give you a premium based on your behavior, based on the way you act, you use your phone? Am I throwing the phone? Am I rude with my phone? What kind of usage, what kind of charging I do? So in that context, what you need is data collection for processing. You need the data collection of the user. Again, please understand, in this, all this is in with consent from the user, so that they know that there is a value addition in terms of the usage based premiums can be charged. This makes the life and the journey very embedded in their day-to-day life. The the concept of insurance needs to be affordable. Otherwise, we are all, the most of us shy away from insurance because we are worried about the high premium cost, high cost of the premium. Now, once I embed the solution in line with my day-to-day life and make it affordable, it becomes simpler, and I can achieve it only based on the risk. Again, as an insurance company, I need to manage my contingent liability. So in that context, I want to make sure that I have access to the right data so that I can evaluate the risk associated with it, explore, do the data analysis, and then use artificial intelligence for me to give a weighted average of the usage and then give you a corresponding premium. Now, what does this is another classic use case in the context of how do I customize. First we saw about, hey, you are using your mobile phone, and you are and based on your mobile phone usage, I want to gamify the experience, and I want to give you a corresponding insurance. Most of us have this driving, right? When you do the driving, you need to have your driver's insurance, etc., etc. Let's take an example. I am a fleet operator. I am running a taxi service, or I'm driving a bus service, or even a truck, a fleet of trucks. If you talk to them, the biggest cost apart from the salary that is paid is road tax plus the insurance that you pay for the drivers, because the chances of the cost of the insurance, the premium that I pay is high, because the risk associated with it is high, because it is my employee who could get injured. And if you look at the behavior, for me to give a very customized optimal insurance premium, what we could do is we could also profile the driver behavior. Using technology, you can track the driver behavior. You can actually gamify this whole process, make it enjoyable both from a driver perspective and incentivize the driver. It's a three-way engagement: your insurance entity, your drivers, and your enterprise. So in that context, if for a good behavior there are sweeteners, you incentivize the driver. Same way for the enterprise, the premium goes down. This is data driven. For a driving behavior that is not appropriate, you have an opportunity to gamify and educate the driver. A, there is a risk involved in your driving behavior. Please understand, as an insurance company, I do not want to pay the claim, meaning I want to avoid claims. So that means that there is opportunity in this context. Using data, I can educate I can educate the person who has insured so that there is no lesser claims. Only then I make margin. Only then I make money in this business. So data becomes a very key aspect in this process. It becomes enjoyable. It's a more a gamification process where I use data, I educate the user, make sure there is incentives for right behavior, and and I reduce the cost of insurance, because my cost of claim is going down. So I can also make the insurance very affordable. Okay. Now this, when you want to digitize this whole process, right, it doesn't come without any risk associated with it. This is a good example, right? Same we saw about the auto insurance. Now say that within the same auto insurance claim prediction, right? Can I use AI and the data science capability to identify, to start predicting the claim prediction, and can I do the fraud detection? Absolutely, you can do, looking at the data and the pattern. You can predict whether this particular behavior customer is going to file a claim or not. You can even predict the amount, and you can predict the fraudulent claim looking at the behavioral patterns, looking at the driver behavioral patterns. You can using data and AI, you can start predicting and start monitoring. The benefit in this model is, one, preventive, and from an insurance perspective, I could also be and manage my contingent liabilities appropriately. The other aspect around, again, this is very close to my heart from a Thailand perspective, is crop based parametric insurance. Let me just deviate a bit here. It's not just about offering an insurance in a context of a farmer. if you want to borrow a credit from a bank, from a financial institution, in a current context, there are challenges because there is no supporting data. But if I can support the data with AI, and I can give a tool to the financial institution, both from a bank which is lending or to the insurance agency which is covering the risk associated with the farming process, they will be able to both lend and from a farmer perspective be able to borrow, and farmer is also covered on on the risk associated with the failure of the crop. Again, this is supported by IoT devices monitoring. You have data around rainfall, etc., and also you could be able to predict the information. You could be able to predict based on the rainfall. You can predict the what will be the crop production, and based on that you can cover your insurance accordingly. So the premium here again, from a customer, from a farmer as a customer, the biggest challenge for them is buying this insurance. Sorry. So I can make the premium affordable using data. There are a few aspects around fraud detection. The way we saw on the drivers, on the drivers claiming false fraud insurance, similarly you could also use for detecting of the health insurance fraud as well. You could look at the predictive approach, and also look at data, and also identify the health insurance fraud. As we are talking about acquisition, sales online, right? Synthetic fraud becomes even more prominent. There is a very high chance of impersonation. I could use Somebody else could use my data to do my claim, right? So synthetic fraud is a huge fraud as we move into the digital world, using data and also using technology. Why data is critical is data will tell me this client's behavioral pattern, and using technology you can authenticate, you can validate whether this is the right individual. Technology is changing the way insurance is operating, both from a data perspective and also from an underlying technology perspective. One, first and foremost, there are three areas that it is impacting: the way the client engagement happens today. Second, the way the product innovation is happening. Third is the space the underlying value chain innovation is happening. It is about the ecosystem. It is not just about the insurance sector alone, it's about the ecosystem. That's the way the value system is happening. A classic example is, in the past, a distributor of an insurance product was a broker. Physical is an individual entity. Now the value system is changing, that it becomes an online platform. And what is more beautiful is it becomes embedded. Everything becomes embedded. Let me just end with another analogy, another example, which I'm very passionate about is, most of us travel, we fly, and we are talking about carbon footprint, right? Can I offset the carbon footprint? Absolutely, yes. Most of the airlines are now saying that yes, you could offset the carbon footprint by purchasing carbon credits, and they promise that they would plant or they would invest in green funds. In this context, right, if I when I'm offsetting, when I'm traveling, when I'm offsetting carbon footprint, can I give you a, a, a travel insurance coverage? So this becomes a sweetener for me, and this is how data is playing a role. Why data is important? Because data is what will tell you, hey, this is your carbon footprint. That's a data source that comes in. And when you're offsetting, you're offsetting data. Okay, since you're offset, I'm going to give you another sweetener for your good behavior. You get an additional travel insurance. This is how the market is evolving. This is how the new supply chain capabilities are being handled. Thanks a lot, guys. Happy to take up any question.
Well, thank you, Suresh, for your insightful presentation. And viewers can post the questions as and when they like. And I would like to hand over this floor to Varun now, who will also present us with his topic on this. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Gordon. And thank you, Suresh, for that. I think that was a fantastic overview of so many aspects of change that is happening with sort of digitization and sort of data, particularly on the side of, I mean, profiling customers, understanding risk, targeting customers with the right products, and so on. And I think it's a good sort of introductory point for what I am going to be talking about, because mine will be more on how digital tools can help the actual agent sort of experience as well. So if one part of it is how data can sharpen the profiling and the risk identification and so on, and the product sort of development which is targeted for customers, the fact is we are in a reality where you have agents as well who are part of the sales process. So, what can you do to transform your agency channel in terms of driving winning behaviors, which can complement all the things that Suresh spoke about, which would become a comprehensive value proposition? So, that is where I want to spend a few minutes and then we can go into the discussion. I'll share my screen, and Gordon, let me know if it starts to become visible.
Yes, Varun, it's visible now.
Sure. Sounds good. Thank you. Um, so I will not, so I think Suresh did a very good point of summarizing the opportunity for insurance in Thailand. So I will not spend too long on that, but I'll just sort of reiterate some of the trends that we're seeing in Thailand and also, I mean, other places in Asia Pacific. We have an expanding middle class, which is more aware of insurance, which is able to purchase insurance that is relevant for them. We also have in various places aging populations where the need for insurance becomes a lot more, and they are aware of the possibilities, the potential that's available to them. And I think, in fact, Suresh did a much better job of expanding and showcasing the various ways in which insurance can be relevant to, various demographics of the population. Like you spoke about agricultural spaces where you could have farmers and so on purchasing insurance which is relevant for them. But yeah, so just the larger acceptance of insurance as a possibility, the larger awareness is increasing. And thirdly, digitization. So more and more people are digital native, which means that they are more comfortable, looking at insurance policies for them which are available online, comparing and contrasting policies across carriers and so on, which means that the market for insurance is going to grow. And how can carriers cater to this audience in a way that is relevant to them will become the important question. And similar to what Suresh said, that the penetration, I mean, if you look at the global penetration, Thailand is not too bad. So it is nearing the benchmark of global penetration. But when you look at some of the more advanced economies, of course, Thailand has a long way to go in terms of penetration. So the potential is significant, both in terms of percentage wise penetration amongst the population and also the per capita sort of insurance density. And the broad takeaway, of course, which we all know, is that Thailand remains one of the markets, and this is reiterated by all the studies done by the various sort of analysts and the consulting firms which are tracking the insurance market, where again and again the message is that Thailand is one of the key areas where insurance penetration and growth, is going to happen a lot more in the next 5 to 10 years. Um, and now, so with Suresh's, entire sort of presentation as part one, if I can move to the agent itself, and though we have a lot of digitization happening and a lot of self-serve options for customers to come and sort of purchase products themselves and so on, particularly when you look at life insurance and also other similar types of complex categories of insurance. And life insurance here is a sort of classic example. We find that the insurance agent is still at the center of distribution. And in a digital first world, we find that the agent continues to be the most important player in insurance sales. But the nature in which the agent is engaging with the customer is very different. and the ways in which data and technology is being used is very different. So the agent now is not like an agent of the past who would probably go door to door and try to pitch their the life insurance product, but they have to navigate an ecosystem which has a lot of digital touch points, um, and then be successful in this sort of ecosystem. So it becomes even more challenging. But the hard fact, and this is from a McKinsey report which we can share after this, is that more than 70% of customers for life insurance, and this is in more advanced economies, but I think uh, the the sort of message will be even more appropriate in Thailand and other economies in, say, Asia Pacific, is that more than 70% of customers start their purchase journey online, but less than 30% of them complete it online, right, on their own, which means there is a significant drop off. At some point, you start and you go through the financial needs, so process and so on. And for life insurance, particularly, you realize at some point that it is very complex. I mean, why is it that more than 70% start and less than 30% complete it online? Is because there are complexities in one, the financial needs. What does a customer truly want and need in the long term? What are the various ways in which their priorities for themselves, their families can be matched with financial products which are relevant for them, right? So just even being able to articulate what my goals are, what my needs are, is not straightforward, and customers often need the help of an agent to do so. Secondly, products are many. So there are a lot of products. So even if I have gone past the first step and I have articulated my financial needs, what are the products and the various configurations of those products which will match those needs is not a simple sort of drag and drop. So there might be multiple products that seem to fit there. So there will be a need for me to do comparisons between products and use scenario sort of analysis and so on. So it's not straightforward there. Huge number of products. So how do I understand what is best? And the third is the process. So there is still, for life insurance, if I take as an example, there are still forms that need to be filled up, documents and details that need to be uploaded. A lot of these are being streamlined, by the way, so that the experience becomes smooth and as less amount of data entry for a customer as possible. But still, it does involve various stages in a process, which means many customers who start off, who might have gone past step 1 and 2, they understood their financial needs and articulated it, then they went and identified the right product, but still they dropped off because the process is cumbersome for them, right? Because of all of this, you find that you do need an insurance agent, particularly in life insurance, who can come in, who can pick up a customer who started a financial needs analysis, who has entered their basic details, and handhold the customer through the process, help the customer with an assisted sales process, which will help them to identify exactly what is right for them. So the personalization in the sales process will come both from data, both from technology, which is direct to consumer, and also from empowering the agent to be a lot more targeted in the way they work with customers to do the process. Um, yeah, so very quickly, some of the, so if I just look at the sort of distribution channel itself, and if I look at the agency distribution channel, some of the common sort of concerns that we hear, or the some of the common areas for optimization and investments across insurance carriers are broadly, firstly, the entire lead management process itself, having a systematic way of doing so. And I will not go into too much detail right now, but I'd be happy to showcase a lot of these in a lot more depth in a follow-up conversation. Second is for the agents to have a mechanism where they can have a systematic engagement with their customers. And with their leads. So if I have 200 leads, how do I make sure that I'm following up with the right leads, with the right frequency, with the right content, and how do I systematically make sure that I am nurturing my entire pipeline? So that requires playbooks and it requires technology to be able to do so. The third is performance tracking and analytics. For me as an agent and for my manager, how do I make sure that I know that I'm doing the right activities at the right point in time? How do I know that on a daily, weekly basis I am doing the right? I am tracking sort of correctly on my monthly and quarterly targets? Where are the gaps? And can these gaps be identified in a very simplified manner so that I can take action? So those are a challenge right now with most of the carriers that we spoke with. And the fourth is knowledge sharing. So there is so many new products that are coming out, so many learnings from sales process, so many market understanding, which will be useful for an agent to know. How do we make all of this um, handed over to an agent based on their profile, based on their tenure, based on their region and product expertise and so on? How do we have learning paths for them to make them more successful? So that's an important area. And finally, customer insights, which is we are engaging with the customer, and this is where all the profiling done by what Suresh was talking about. We have a very powerful customer profile right now. But how do I bring that up in a very simple manner for an agent when they are engaging with that customer to be able to understand the profile in a way that can help me identify what are the right financial needs for them? So essentially, what are the ways in which an agent can become a more empathetic, a more personalized, and a more um, uh, targeted and powerful advisor for their customers is a big challenge, which at this point in time technology is solving in a major way. And I mean, before I end, I will just talk a little bit about I will just showcase this but not talk about it, and we can go into it in detail later. But one thing to think about is that all through the agent channel, and on the left hand side of the screen, if you're looking at the insurance carriers, like the people listening in from the insurance side, if you are on the left hand side of the screen and you have the retail customer on the right hand side of the screen, then you have multiple journeys that need to happen in a very systematic and powerful way with with machine learning insights, with a lot of technology which comes into these journeys. And broadly, these journeys can be split across the journeys for an agent manager and the journeys for an agent. And these are the 8 journeys which comprise all the capabilities across the agency channel, where Vymo has sort of intelligent capabilities which we are building up, uh, which we are providing to insurance carriers. And this ties back to our vision of being able to make these agency managers as well as these agents on the ground be a lot more systematic in the way they use all of the sort of existing sort of digital aids to be able to serve their customers better. Yeah, so this is just a glimpse, and I'd be happy to go into a lot more detail in follow-up demos or presentations. But I would love to, move into a conversation mode. So I'll stop sharing, and back to you, Gordon.
Hey, thanks, Varun. Excellent insights and great points that been highlighted earlier, and as well as synergizing with Suresh earlier's presentation as well. I don't see any questions coming in from the viewers. Perhaps we are not really warm up enough from their side. So allow me to just carry on the Q&A from here in this case. Suresh, just a couple of questions that I have from my side that probably will have impact on the viewers today here. Where do you see technology in this case will have the biggest effects on insurers themselves?
See, technology will have impact on few phases, as I was highlighting. First and foremost, the way insurers engage the customer. Because in the past, everything was physical. Now, what has changed is it becomes electronic. Even the purchasing, even the decision making while doing the purchase, right? It has changed now. The customer life cycle has changed. My purchasing behavior has changed because of the electronic online channel. The biggest impact is customer engagement and customers understanding on the product and customer to procure and buy this product. So that's the first space. Technology will change the way, because I have opportunity to read more, I have opportunity to compare more products and get feedbacks online from my friend circle in WhatsApp or anywhere, right? I can post a product and then ask feedbacks. This is what is changing the way I'm taking decision. Rather in the past, it was with the agent, whatever the agent tells me, I buy that product. So now things have changed. The first very basic aspect is change. The second aspect is around product evolution. From an insurance organization perspective, in the past, it is plain vanilla. If you go talk to somebody, it is health insurance is health insurance. Blanket, there is no variation, no customization. Now, the insurance aspects are now evolving, right? If you're taking Grab Drive today, you can also buy a small cover for your ride, right? If there is a rain, you can buy a cover, right? So in that I mean, another flavor is if you start using a particular wallet and start using in a coffee shop, if you buy beyond X dollars, you get a health cover, right? This is how you're building innovation. Now, I mean, let's take the other way around. I'm having a medical insurance, and if I show that I am maintaining a certain level of fitness, my premium goes down. I visit 10 times my gym, a particular gym who has a partnership. This is data, but what you think through it, it is not about it's this is data. Everything is technology, data driven, and the way the pricing and the products are evolving. This is benefiting from the beauty is everything is gamified now. I'm as an insurer, my biggest cost is when somebody does the claim. So I'm trying to educate the customer, educate the user to avoid claims. So this is how the product itself is innovation, product side of the innovation is evolving. The third aspect is the ecosystem is getting involved in this. In the past, the distribution was always through an agent or somebody. Now even if I go and buy in a coffee shop, I'm buying an hidden or an embedded insurance in that process. So the ecosystem is evolving. This is the power of technology, Gordon.
Well, that's certainly true. I mean, every one of us certainly experience this kind, especially you mentioned when we are in the Grab using the app, right? And then there's additional in Thailand. There's additional of $5 to cover a personal accident claim up to, if I remember, like 800,000 or to $1 million. Yeah, so these are the bits and pieces that we experience daily, digitally in this case. Just allow me to cross over to Varun for the next question. We were talking about insurers and the insurance companies in this case. Varun, I'm sure you have some interactions with various insurance leaders across the region, especially in Asia Pacific, right? Uh, I'm going to break this down into a couple of questions or in a structure that you may also reply and give your insights to. So what are some of the major priorities that get highlighted? And in terms of investment, what are they investing in, and what are some of their biggest challenges that they face? So there are three parts to this question.
Yeah. So I think, and firstly, I loved sort of listening to the answer that Suresh gave on how data is being used. I mean, we also hear about, I mean, with these smart cars and so on, the speed at which you drive goes to the carrier, and they know that are you a reckless driver or not, and based on that, your premium will go up or down or whatever. I mean, the potential to target is so much these days, right? Yeah, Gordon, to go back to your question, yeah, I mean, we work with a large number of insurance carriers, of course, and we work with them in their long-term transformation goals. And I think some of the priorities, and I mean, I'm purely talking about the distribution side of insurance, not the risk or the product development side of insurance. So the marketing and distribution side where we operate. And there, if you look at the agency channel or the bank assurance channel, I think there is no doubt that two things are happening. One is the customer now is living in a very sort of different sort of digital first, app first ecosystem, where all the other things that they're doing for their day is all based on sleek consumer style apps, right? So their engagements with the insurance company or with the agent, they expect it to be the same or at least similar. And they cannot sort of process that not being the same amount of experience. So, from a carrier's perspective, being able to provide very powerful digital, I mean, not just digital, but across channels, being able to provide a very smooth experience to the to the end customers. And if we talk about life insurance, health insurance, etc., I mean, what is the purchasing process like, and how smooth is it for the entire end-to-end process? So that is the front and center priority. Also, because markets are competitive these days and people have more options. Stepping from that priority, what that sort of leads to is that they then have to go back and look at their channel. I mean, like I mentioned on that slide, they have to go back and look at the entire, all the various interactions that are happening across the channel and find ways to streamline those. Because at this point in time, there is still a lot of siloed operations between various aspects of the distribution sort of value chain, which means that consolidated visibility into what is happening end to end, having a very streamlined flow from end to end. If we launch a product for a particular demographic group, is that flowing all the way through to the agent? Is the agent equipped in understanding what are the nuances of that product? Is that agent then being able to use the data that has been gathered in terms of what are the best possible customers who will match that product, and is that being able to be placed? So breaking down the barriers between various systems and being able to provide a sort of unification, a simple platform for the entire distribution channel, a simple sales solution which will have the end to end from I mean process for an agent. So that is a priority, and the unification and simplification of the sales process on the agent channel side will also lead to better customer experience. I mean, it's all tied together. And for this, the biggest challenge that we currently see is that well, I mean, the biggest challenge is that there is a context, right? I mean, insurance carriers, it's not that they have not, various insurance carriers are leading the way in doing a lot, I mean, bringing in a lot of data and bringing in a lot of digital tools to their workflows, to their value chain. But at this point in time, you have a context of existing systems, you have a context of existing processes, and while you want to have this overall unification of the process, I mean, you can't do it in one go. It has to happen in a phased manner. So the challenge, but it's more of a reality than a challenge, is how do you identify phased approaches where you move towards complete digitization of the agent or the bank assurance channel, for example, and what are the ways in which we can slowly incorporate the existing tech stack, not replacing it, I mean, completely and disrupting too many things, but in a phased manner, in a least sort of disruptive manner. How do you bring on more and more digitization so that it should not even be visible that this transition is happening? I mean, so there should be no pain, right, as much as possible. So this requires a balancing of sort of the end business objective with what can be like an immediate MVP go live, right, versus what can be a year one solution, year two solution, and say at the end of year three, you have, I mean, complete sort of data driven digitization. Finding that balance is where the challenge is.
Well, thank you, Varun. I mean, in terms of phases, it definitely takes time, and the transition that is going to be imposed by the leaders of the various insurance companies, right? I'll come back to you on the transformation part after I will pose another similar question to Suresh. So, Suresh, moving up the chain, we're talking about the whole value chain, but this time you're moving further up. You know, in terms of technological players in the market, what is differentiating factor for NEC in terms of how you're going to build this, your product, present your product into this landscape?
I mean, thank you. It's a fantastic question. Gordon, I would say that most of the technology organizations have similar solution or technology capabilities. If you talk to anybody, they have data practice, they have AI, they have all the practices. NEC has, from a legacy point of view, right? NEC is 123 years old as an organization, and we have dedicated research labs. We have 7 dedicated research labs, very focused on R&D. So as an organization, it's very clear that we have an investment in research and development aspects, very strong research and development. But more than that, and culturally we are very, very customer focused and customer centric organization. So predominantly my team, the way we work with our customers, we work closely with some of the largest banks and insurance entities. What we do is we do not sell products with them. Rather, we work with them to identify a problem statement. We do hypothesis from there. We do co-creations. We co-invest in this process and we do co-creation so that the customer problem statement is addressed, identified and addressed. That's the way we differentiate in this model. The question that usually I get whenever I talk about co-creation and partnership, right, the first question I get is, hey, do you guys what's the business and revenue model in this? Is this do you really make revenue in this model? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. This is a fantastic win-win model where there is a partnership-driven model. See, unlike the traditional system integrator where you are an SOW-driven engagement, you are a statement of work-driven engagement. No, we don't operate that way. At least my team, the way we operate is very partnership-driven, where we work with the customers. When I say customer, we work with the insurance entities, and then we identify problem statements, try to test find a solution, try to test it together. We co-create and co-invest in this process, test it, do the MVP, and then take it to the customer. That's our key differentiation. We believe in partnership and we are very, very customer centric.
Well, that's why NEC has been around for 123 years, right?
Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Suresh. So coming back to Varun, earlier on we talked about the transformation and in phases. Technology, AI progressively impact every aspect of insurance distribution. I suppose this will happen in phases, as you mentioned earlier. Are you able to elaborate further on this and help us to understand how this phase transformation process might look like for a typical carrier and how the priorities are being shifted over time?
Yeah, good question. So if I take any large insurer that we work with, usually in our immediate sort of deployment for the agency channel or the bank assurance channel, the first thing that we solve or the first thing that we prioritize and the carriers and Vymo prioritizes is visibility, which means can I get a single unified system where all the agents, all the agent managers, all the bank assurance relationship managers, etc. I mean, depending on the channel, all the users on the sales and distribution side are on a single uniform platform, which means, and can I capture all the engagements that are happening on the ground? So I get comprehensive visibility into what's happening. So, for visibility to happen, we need to start by offering a unified platform and the visibility to managers and to leadership to take systematic decisions based on, say, regional comparisons, product-wise comparisons, to understand, say, training and upskilling needs and so on. So that is the first thing. So the first on go live, the first thing that we provide, which I think, is a priority, is 100% visibility, right, for the leadership all the way up the chain as to what's happening across their entire sort of distribution operations. So that would be phase one. Phase two would be when, with visibility comes a lot of data. When you can have all the users on a single platform and all of the touch points with the customer or a lead are captured on that single platform, then you are sitting on a lot of useful information, huge amount of information, which is very fine level detailed, right? It's fine grained information that you can learn from. And what can you learn from is what we call, so you can start to learn these winning behavior playbooks, which is, to just take a very simple example, for a particular type of insurance product, and for a particular type of a customer profile, you might need to do a certain set of activities to be able to convince them about the need and sell the product to them. It might be just more systematically the number of follow-ups that you do, what type of content you share with them, right? What sort of product comparisons you do, what brochure do you share with them, etc. What say outreach messages that can be sent out via WhatsApp and other communication modes. So these are all um, the patterns which can be picked up from the data. So there's no need, I mean, for us to assume what the right sales execution rhythm should be. The data will tell us what are the most successful agents doing. I mean, if I can make a list of the top 20% of agents, what are the activities, patterns that they are following, and these can be turned into playbooks. And by playbooks, we just mean that these things can be turned into systematic rules. So now, for all the agents on an app like Vymo, you will get prompts, you will get auto calendared activities to make sure that you follow those patterns which we have learned from the data. So that is phase two, where you sort of enforce behavior sort of excellence based on various playbooks, right? So you start with visibility, and you turn, and which is phase one. Phase two is that you can drive playbooks at scale, and phase three then is where you really move into a predictive mode, because once you do have the execution rhythm is done, now is when you can really start to become predictive in terms of using various the AI and ML models which are plugged into the system. And there is enough data now, right, over the course of 1 or 2 years where you're doing phase one, phase two, etc. There's a lot of data now where you can really get predictive in terms of what products are the right fit for a customer, what are the cross sell, upsell opportunities, and various aspects of sort of efficiencies that ML and AI can bring in. But the thing that we have, I mean, observed is that while it is important to have a roadmap for complete AI ML based transformation, what is also important for channel leaders and so on is what do I get, what can I go live with on day one? And can I go live with a comprehensive platform which has a certain amount of intelligence, which has streamlined playbooks, integrated, like pre-integrated and so on, and can I start seeing value on day one? And that, and then take them from there in a very structured manner to a place where data and intelligence can, I mean, become part of the entire value chain. So I mean, I personally see it as not as something that will go live say 100% on day one, but it's a phased process. And the more we can sit with carriers and showcase to them that these are the phases and these are the tangible outputs which are linked to each phase, then they gain the confidence that we are working with them in the longer term. And I think that confidence is the most important thing that they're looking at. I mean, rather than saying that, I mean, it'll all happen on day one, right? Yeah. So that's the way I see it.
Varun, if I can just add on, just to
Yes.
complement to what you just said, uh, this is where the data plays a very key role,
Mm.
both from a predictability from a customer acquisition perspective and also predictability about the customer behavior in terms of whether, hey, is this a high risk customer who is going to come back and claim in X days or so. So this
Mm.
is something which we can predict, and this is where data plays a very, very key role. Having said that, all the sales conversations and the data that it is sitting in a platform like Vymo again is the key input for product differentiation,
That's true.
product development,
Yeah.
right? So in that context, even from a product pricing perspective, that's where the data makes a huge difference. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We still have time for at least one more question here. Do we have any question from the floor, from our viewers? Right. Otherwise, thank you, Varun. Thank you, Suresh. Muskan, I'll hand this over to you.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining in. Sorry. I will be sharing the recording of this webinar with all of you, just to for you to reference offline. And if you have any questions at all, you can just reply on that same email, and we can connect you to Suresh, Sir, Varun, or Gordon, so you can further your conversation with them to understand more. I would like to thank each and every one of you for sitting through the webinar, listening to Varun and Suresh. I hope it was insightful for you. Suresh, sir, Varun, thank you so much for coming in. This was a great webinar. I think we covered lots of ground. Gordon, thank you so much for moderating. All right, I am going to end the session now. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.